You show up, you create the content, maybe you've even invested in some marketing help, but something still isn't working. What's the missing piece? In this episode, we're breaking down the real reason marketing might not be working, and it's probably not because you're not doing enough. I'm going to be talking about messaging, trend chasing, and why your content alone isn't enough, and what are some areas you can focus on instead. So let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of the Cozypreneur podcast. If this is your first time listening, Cozypreneur is all about helping you make money and work with the dreamiest of clients. So grab your beverage, get your cozy socks on, and let's dive in. One of the biggest things that I see is this really fluffy messaging. And this is something that has gotten more and more common as AI has gotten more popular. AI is everywhere now. And I think part of it is because people don't really understand how AI works. So what happens is you get a lot of content that it sounds polished, like it sounds good, but it's not actually saying anything. So one of the ones that I saw yesterday was like the type of woman they write books about. What does that actually mean? Like I have questions about what is the type of woman they write books about? Is it somebody who is so influential and has made great changes in their industry? Is it someone who is horrible and needs to be used as like a case study for other people who shouldn't repeat the same things? Like there's so many different interpretations of the women they write books about. What does that actually mean? It sounds good, right? But what are you actually saying? And some other phrases that I see is like stepping into your power. What does that mean? Like, what does that actually look like in somebody's day-to-day life? Like, how does stepping into my power actually change my life in any way? Like other than me being like, I am powerful today, right? Like, what does that actually look like? What are you actually saying? Another one, and I see this a lot, and I think I even use this one sometimes and I have to check myself, is like getting the results you want. That is super vague, right? So what are the results? What are the actual transformations? And if you're like struggling with like, okay, how do I actually define like what are the results that you want? One thing to do is actually talk to your customers, right? What are the results that you want? But another thing is really thinking about what does it actually look like, right? In that moment that they are getting the results that they want. Is it they got new leads through their website? Is it they were able to create their own schedule and make it through the day? Is it that they finally had the classroom resources that they need to teach in the way that it feels good? Really get super, super specific on what are the results. And that's going to go such a long way with your messaging. Another one that I see is transform your life. Like, again, super vague. What does it look like to transform your life? And also like if you are selling marketing or any other B2B, like you're not really transforming people's life. It's more like, hey, you're making business easier, right? So really thinking about if there are things that are super vague in your copy, where can you fix it? And this is something, like I said, is getting more and more common because of the increase in AI slop, which I'm going to get to in a minute. But when you're really thinking about good messaging, you really want to be saying something, right? So like every time that you post your website, your emails, your social media content, is it actually positioning you as the obvious choice for your people, right? Is it actually telling people what you do, who it's for, why it matters, what your approach is, right? Like those are the pieces that are going to make your messaging stand out from all the other AI slop. So to talk a little bit about AI and why AI slop exists, right? The way that AI works is it uses all of the language that it finds on the internet, right? And then it takes that language to answer your prompt. So it doesn't mean that what it's saying is correct. It also doesn't mean that what it's saying is good or good positioning or good messaging. It just means that it's what somebody else has said, right? Or it's patterns that other people have said. So if you are somebody who is like looking for content for a social media manager and you're like, hey, help me plan out my next month of content for social media manager, it's going to give you the same boring slop that it gave the other person who put the same or similar prompt inside of it. Another thing that I heard actually on the podcast Duped, if you haven't heard Duped, it's one of my favorite podcasts. It's a consumer advocacy podcast. And they talked about this idea that AI isn't allowed to have an opinion, right? And so the content that it gives you, it doesn't have a perspective and it doesn't have a lens. And I think once I heard that on the podcast, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense, because that is what makes it so boring, right? Like there's no perspective. It's just noise. You're like saying words without actually saying anything. And to really have like a good message and high converting content, like that's the piece that's missing from your AI slop, right? Like, it's like, what makes the message good is you, like how you approach your work, how you uniquely help people. What are the stories, right? What are the experiences? What have you learned in all the time that you've been doing this that you can insert into your messaging? That's what AI can't give you. And that's a lot of what makes content like actually compelling, right? Like actually interesting and what people actually want to engage with. So that's why it's so important to understand how AI works and how to prompt AI correctly, which that is a topic for another episode. Let me know if you want to hear that one. I'm happy to record it. So basically, you can use AI content. Like I use AI in my business all the time, but really making sure that you are inserting you into the content, right? You're inserting your ideal clients into the customer, what you've seen, your experiences, your stories. That is going to help you stand out so much more. A lot of the trends that were working a year or two ago are no longer working. One of the things that I've noticed people doing is like backwards designing funnels, right? So like signing up for like somebody else's freebie, seeing what their welcome sequence looks like, seeing what offer it leads to, and then trying to copy that. The thing is, and this was another thing I heard on Duped, the funnel is out, right? People have longer buying patterns. And yes, you still need the pieces of the funnel, right? You still need visibility, you still need nurture, and you still need to sell, but it's not like a straight line, right? It's not like you're like, hey, these are the exact steps that these people need. And they're going to move from my low ticket offer to my mid ticket offer to my low to mid ticket offer to my mid to high ticket offer. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but literally that's how I learned to do it. But basically, humans are a little bit more complex than like, hey, here's this preset out path that you're going to follow, right? Like, it's not like you're like putting people on those like long walkways at the airport and they just have to like stand there and kind of go forward. No, like people come, they leave, they might listen to your podcast, they might read your emails, they might engage with your content on social media, they might see you at a networking event, and all of these things work together. And so really overemphasizing like what is the funnel, what is the process, what is the customer journey, I think that's holding people back a little bit because you're trying to like overcreate structure where people don't naturally fall into this structure. So that's just something to think about as you think about your marketing and where does it make sense to show up. And how do I get this visibility, nurture, and sales piece without necessarily trying to like create a predetermined pathway for your people, because people don't follow predetermined pathways necessarily, right? You're not designing like a college curriculum where people have to like take their core foundational courses and then they can take some electives and then they can, take the advanced courses. You're designing something that's going to help people solve their problems depending on where they are in their journey, right? And the type of support that they're looking for. So another thing that I also see is people shifting their niche or their offers because they're just not making enough money. Sometimes, yes, it might be your offer, but a lot of the times it's your positioning and your messaging. And doing something like completely pivoting niches, that's going to hurt your business because it's going to violate the trust with your audience, right? Because you're positioning yourself as an expert in this one thing, and then you're like, all of a sudden, hey, I'm doing this other thing that is completely different. So that's a little bit of an aside, but it is something that I have been seeing in my social media lurking moments, is this thing of like seeing people who had these successful businesses and just completely pivoting, and you're basically starting from scratch, right? Because you have to rebuild that trust with a completely new offer, with a completely new brand promise. You're basically rebuilding your brand around something completely different, which is like, if that's the strategic move for you, like that's totally cool. But I think really being intentional about like, hey, I actually want to completely burn my business to the ground and do something else instead of like, just jumping because your nervous system is out of whack because you didn't make money because the economy and this timeline is a dumpster fire and nobody's making money right now, then you're making these choices that have long-term implications. So that is something to think about. The last trend that I'm seeing, and that I actually think that, at least in my circles, people are really moving away from this trend, is like the more is better, because more isn't actually better unless it's strategic. And this goes back to my point about AI slop, right? Like, instead of using AI slop to create the most amount of content and show up every single piece and be constantly top of mind, where can you have like more strategic and intentional touch points with your audience that are going to be more memorable, that are going to be more trust building, and that are actually positive interactions, instead of like, hey, I wrote this with AI and it sounds like everything else that other people who did the same thing as me are also saying. So I think that this trend is dying a little bit because people are so burnt out from content creation, and they're starting to lean more into what feels good and what has an impact, right? Like for me, I was making a lot of money on Instagram when I first started on there, but by the end of me using Meta as a marketing platform, I was feeling really burnt out. And I think that that comes across with your audience, right? And like, yes, I could pivot. I could try to figure out what's working for Instagram. But the thing is that like, I kind of hated it. It was really burning me out. I didn't like it, and it was making me resentful of my business. And so for me, like that didn't make the most amount of sense for me. So in that case, more content for me didn't actually work better, because once I stopped posting on Meta, I was able to lean into my email marketing more. I'm able to focus more on the podcast. I'm able to focus more on in-person networking events. And that has actually helped me sustain my business in a way that feels way better than showing up on social media. Again, though, that is a me thing, right? Like you have to figure out what is going to work for you, what feels good for you. I think that the whole point of me saying this is really like there are no rules. And I say this to my clients all the time. There are no rules. You can figure out what works for you. I think the last mistake that I really see is this overemphasis on marketing and creating a launch plan and building your campaign. And I get it, because that's what everybody is telling you you need. And it also like feels a little bit less scary than having actual conversations with people. That was one of the reasons why I loved Instagram so much at the beginning, because nobody in my real life knew what I was doing on there. And I could just like build my business in this place. It was a brand new account. Like the people local to me, they didn't know what I was doing, but LinkedIn felt really scary because, right, I had my like high school contacts, my college contacts, like all of these people from different phases of my life were there. But the problem is that without having real conversations with real humans, even the best content is not going to convert for you. And I will say 95% of the time, I have a real conversation with someone before they buy. And when you're looking at the Copy Studio, it is 100% of the time. I do not sign Copy Studio clients without first having a conversation with them, because the projects are so big. Sometimes they take months. And I really want to make sure that it's somebody that I can work with, and that it's somebody that feels confident that they can work with me too, and that the partnership is going to work. So what does it mean to have actually real conversations? Really answering people's questions, clarifying like, what does this offer look like for you personally? How is it going to help you with your specific goals? And making sure that they understand the value in the process and feel confident with what they're doing. I feel like business coaches listening to this are probably rolling their eyes and being like, that's horrible advice. But I literally tell people the ROI on copywriting isn't fast. And if they tell you that it's fast, they're being scammy or they're lying to you. But I tell people on sales calls, like, make sure that you understand that this is an investment and it's a slow burn. And sometimes it can take months to see a return, right? Like if I write your website copy and then you implement SEO, it might be a few months before you see that increase in leads. So does that mean sometimes people go away for a while? Yes. Sometimes I have a sales call and people disappear for like 6 months or 8 months, but a lot of the times they come back, and when they come back, they are 100% confident it's the right choice, and they come back as repeat clients. And that is really what is keeping my business sustainable, even among not being on social media, right? Is like these conversations, these relationships with people. And that's really like where your marketing becomes human, right? It's like the real conversations you're having, the perspective that you're bringing to your content, the approach that you take in your work. So all of that being said, clear messaging and real human conversations will convert more than a bunch of AI generated content that sounds the same as everybody else who does what you do. And making sure that if you are using AI generated content, which I do, right? Like I use AI to help save me a bunch of time. Really think about what is the perspective that you're putting? What are the stories that you can put in here? What is your approach and how can you explain that approach? So really think about your messaging. Is your messaging actually saying something, or is it just talking in circles with really fluffy language? Are you actually talking to people? Are you connecting with people and building good business relationships, right? Your network is everything when it comes to the longevity of your business. And then are you doing too much, right? Are you trying to be everywhere? Is it sustainable? So those are some things to think about. In the next episode, we're going to talk about finding the missing piece in your marketing and what exactly to do about it. If you're starting to realize that your messaging and your marketing might need a reset, I have a few spots open for consulting this fall. So join the email list, see what offers are available. And of course, shoot me an email if you want tips or have any questions. I'm happy to talk through whether it's a good fit for you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Cozypreneur, and until next time. That's a wrap on today's episode. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to rate and leave a review on your preferred listening platform. If you haven't, make sure you subscribe for weekly episodes about how to make money and work with the dreamiest of clients without having to get dressed in the morning. Make sure to check out the show notes down below, and I'll see you in the next episode.